Greetings and welcome to another edition of The Pedal Shift Project. The Pedal Shift Project is a series of conversations, thoughts, and experiments on bicycle travel adventures. From tips and tricks to ideas on how to ride your ride, let's shrink the world by bike. Show notes and more are available at pedalshift.net/390, and you can email the show at pedalshift@pedalshift.net or text me at 202-930-1109 and check Pedal Shift out on all the socials as well. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 390th edition of the Pedal Shift Project. My name's Tim Mooney. Thanks so much for joining. On this edition, it is the eBike range test preview. On this episode, we are going to turn the page back to last fall, when I did a secret mini tour with a big purpose to test the range of my e-bike battery on the C&O trail. Big question, can I stretch one full charge enough to get a full day's ride on the C&O with all the pedal assist that I want? We're going to find out the hard way. So this is exciting. Welcome to the past. I am recording this in November of 2024. I am planning a scheduled day-long with an overnight component at the end bike ride using the e-bike. The idea is, as I've kind of suggested in the takeaways episode of the e-bike shakedown ride, I'm going to be riding from the cabin to Cumberland, Maryland on the C&O. So the back third of the C&O towpath. Of course, there is a road component before that to get from the cabin to Hancock. It's going to be one day, and it's going to be on one charge with an asterisk, and we'll talk about that in a bit. Of course, it's going to be on the e-bike. So this is going to give me a sense of what a fully charged battery is capable of doing under real world conditions. And the big question ends up being, can I stretch this battery enough to get me 75.1 miles from the cabin to Cumberland, Maryland? I'm going to be learning a lot about the range. I'm going to definitely be learning about methods to conserve power in that battery under very particular conditions. And again, we're going to get to those in a little bit here. And because I think it's going to be necessary at some point, can I pedal this bike comfortably without pedal assist for long periods of times? And the big question mark, will I have to? Now, you may be saying, hey, 75 miles on this battery would be really remarkable if you could pull that off. And I agree with that, which is why I think that there's going to be a lot of sort of conserving of energy. I think there's going to be a lot of situations where I may say, you know what, I don't need pedal assist here, or I am starting to get range anxiety and I turn pedal assist off. So it's going to be really interesting to kind of see how things go. The big situation, though, I think for this ride is the weather. It is remarkable, the weather lately here, in good ways and in bad ways, but for riding purposes, it's going to be pretty close to perfect. We haven't had rain in this region in over a month. We are in the midst of a terrible drought. It's not good for a whole bunch of things, but what it is great for is the C&O towpath. I will definitely say that, for its surface. We initially had forecast for rain the day before my trip. We are 2 days before my trip right now. And as I said here at recording, and the forecast now seems to have shifted so that this drought is going to continue, which means that even if we did get that rain the day before, I think the ground's going to soak it all up, depending on how much rain it is anyways. And if we don't get rain, it's going to be really remarkable conditions. So I have to say that's awesome. The other thing that's quite good is, of course, in November in the mid-Atlantic region, you might expect things to get very, very cold. And of course, battery charging becomes more problematic the colder that you get. Battery performance gets worse the colder that you get. And while I do think that the start is going to be on the chilly side in the mid 40s Fahrenheit as we leave, it's going to get up into the 60s as a high, the low 60s or the mid 60s, I think. But I think that it's going to be pretty close to optimal temperatures other than that cool start. So I think that the weather is going to be a factor on the plus side. I'm not concerned about losing capacity from the e-bike because of cold weather conditions or anything like that. And in fact, quite the opposite. I may have to adjust my information flow that I get from all of this because they're such optimal conditions. But this is helpful, I think, in terms of the overall experiment that we've got going on here. Let's talk a little bit about the gear. I am not going to be doing any camping on this trip. I'm going to end up doing a hotel in Cumberland at the far end. And the reason really is that the camping options in Cumberland are plentiful, but they're not great for getting a good night's sleep because of the trains and the train yard in Cumberland. And I would kind of like to get a good night's sleep, I think, for the rest of my weekend. So what I'm going to be doing is doing the hotel, and because I'm not doing any camping, I'm not going to be bringing a large amount of camping gear, which of course makes sense. I am going to be riding, however, with close to what I'll consider my sort of final setup. I'm going to be putting 2 panniers on the rear. I'm not going to be lashing anything to the rear rack. I may consider putting something on the front handlebars though, because I do have my straps for the front handlebars. I don't know what I would put on there, but I may do it just to have something there. Maybe even if it's just something that I can kind of stash some things in so I can get out when I'm riding. And also just to kind of see how it rides. Speaking of, and I haven't mentioned this, I should have mentioned this more with the bike component to it. I am planning on putting on another set of essentially grips onto the bike that will give me another set of handlebar options. I hoping that they fit. These are a set that I've had for ages. They fit on a different bike, a bike that actually got stolen years ago, one of my first bikes. And so they may be coming in handy. I'm going to have to do that probably tomorrow as part of the plan here. But that I think qualifies as gear. And that goes back again to the setup episode, or excuse me, the takeaway episode from the shakedown ride. So I'm going to have a little bit more of that. I have not done any of the other things that I've talked about, but I think that this is going to be the first easy thing that I can do that will help with things. I'm going to be bringing, as I mentioned, my panniers. There's not going to be a lot that's going to go into them. I may bring a sleeping bag for emergency sake. I'm going to be bringing my charger. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Clothes for the next day, or for that night actually, and for the next day, because I am going to be taking the train back. Extra chain and tools. A whole variety of things for if things go sideways, but not a lot of things really. Of course, I'll bring snacks and whatnot too. I'll probably end up bringing food that I'll pick up in Hancock for lunch on the way out, and then I'll get dinner in Cumberland would be the plan there. So not carrying a ton of weight. I will certainly carry water. I'll carry enough water for me essentially for the whole day, just so that I don't have to worry about pumping and using my filter at any point, although I probably should bring the filter just to be on the safe side. Not going to bring a stove, not going to bring anything like that. I just don't see any reason why I would be doing that. All right, so here's the plan here. As I mentioned, it's going to be chilly when I get started. And I think I'm going to start relatively early, maybe not like at the crack of dawn, but I do want to get out pretty early. You know, we're in the middle of fall at this point, and I do think that the lack of sunlight is going to be a limiting factor here, although because I'm going to be on the e-bike, presumably this will go faster. We'll get to that into measurements of what success is. The ride to Hancock, you've been along with me on that ride before. I know that it takes about an hour to an hour and a half to get there, which is stunning how quick that can be. I think I'm going to take about an hour break in Hancock for a couple of reasons. First of all, just to give myself a break. It's a good time for it before I transition to the trail. But it's also a good time to charge up. If I can get an extra hour of charge, that's not going to be a ton of miles, but it could be an extra 5, maybe 10 additional miles that I get in that hour. I'm still sussing out what the kind of range addition is per hour of charge, but it's measurable at least. When you're in your last, say, 5 miles of something and you've been used to e-assist the whole time and you have to go to non-e-assist, I might like that. I will like the 5 miles no matter what ends up happening with my range. I'm going to probably be very judicious about my use of pedal assist at all times. I don't know what I'm going to end up choosing for pedal assist on the ride down to Hancock. There is certainly some uphills, and I think that my attitude for the uphills is I'm just going to use what I want, use what I need to get up and over those hills. I don't want to kind of press into pedals or anything like that, or really kind of dial down. There, I'm not going to be too worried because I do have the opportunity to top off in Hancock, and that'll sort of maybe make up for that. Once I'm in Hancock, my intention is to never be above pedal assist 1 or 2. And the reason why I say that is A, because of course I want to make sure that I conserve as much energy as possible, but B, as you experienced with me on the shakedown ride, on the C&O itself, I can get up to 15 miles per hour, which is about as fast as I would like to go. And I believe as fast as the C&O speed limit is. Without going beyond pedal shift 2, I can probably stick to pedal assist 1. See what I did there? I said pedal shift. Pedal assist 1 will probably be sufficient for a large portions of that day. And that's great because that is literally 10% of the power of my 750 watt motor, which means I'm pulling only 75 watts really max at any given time, minus what I'm putting into it. So that's pretty good right there in terms of battery conservation. I will assess my battery in Pawpaw, which is going to be on my side, the cabin side of the, is that right? Actually, no. On the far side of the Pawpaw Tunnel is Pawpaw, West Virginia. You have to cross the river to get to it. There may be an opportunity to top up in Pawpaw. My recollection is that there was not an external outlet at the gas station, but there might be someplace an opportunity. They do have a very small library in Pawpaw. So I'm going to be taking a look at my battery. If I have burnt down well below 50%, or really 50% will be a kind of my marker there. If I'm well below that or kind of flirting with below that, that might be a signal to me that it would be a good idea to at least seek out to see if there is an opportunity to top off. Because again, maybe getting an extra 5 miles or so on the range could be the difference between making it with all the pedal assist I want and not. And of course, I'm going to be going at a higher speed than I'm used to. So this should take less time, which means I'm not going to run out of sunlight. So that's going to be a real interesting point in the journey after I go through the tunnel. It's also obviously an opportunity to take a break and enjoy some lunch too, that hopefully I'd be picking up earlier in the day. I'm going to turn off pedal assist as necessary. I'm also going to go up to level 2 to improve pace if for some reason I'm sort of flagging a little bit. But that's the overall plan. It's trying to find that balance of being able to go at the speed I want to go and to conserve that energy. And that's kind of cool. What is success for this trip? Well, I keep saying it. This e-bike is 2x the speed at 1/2 the effort. And if that can maintain for a full day on the C&O, the longest of any of the days mileage-wise that one can have in my situation with the cabin involved, that would be remarkable. That really opens up things for me. Knowing what the range and real world conditions is honestly, I think, the most exciting part about this ride, because that's going to inform what is possible for this e-bike and all sorts of things that I've dreamed up, including at the end of that episode where we did the shakedown takeaways. This is also going to give the bike physically its longest test yet. I've been pretty impressed with this. It's, as I mentioned, it's a Walmart bike, but it got great reviews from people in the know, and I am interested to see how it goes over the course of, 75 miles in a day. Also, the comfort level and things like that. It's really going to tell me, do I need to do more with the bike? Am I going to need to do what I talked about in that shakedown takeaways episode? Am I going to need to raise up the stem a little bit more? Am I going to have to start cutting some cables and doing some things like that? So in any event, that's what's going to be the measurement of success. I am going to really enjoy the heck out of this ride. I mean, you're sitting there in the middle of winter at this point, and still here in the fall on a beautiful sunny day, no less, and it will be a nice weather ride. But so hopefully this gives you a little bit of interesting stuff to listen to shake away some of the winter blues. And if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, hello Aussies, enjoying your summer, your midsummer perhaps. All right, so that is all we've got for this particular episode. Next week for you will be the ride, and we're going to be doing some takeaways as well. How did this all go? How did the ride go? How did the bike perform? It should be fun. Thank you for joining. You can find Pedal Shift at pedalshift.net for more great bicycle touring content. You can hear the Pedal Shift project through Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app. Opening music courtesy of Jason Kent off his self-titled album. The track is called America. Check out his band Sunfield's latest release, Mono Mono, wherever cool music is available.